All right. Day 7 here. I think we're rolling. Try to remember where we left off yesterday. Keeping this streak going. I think this is 3 days in a row. Last time I believe we put all these individual functions together for calculating each single stat for a whole. None of them work yet because we don't have the shot data. I believe I left myself this error here as a reminder of where to start. So this is our function for calculating stats for an entire round. So the intent is that this function is going to call each of these individual functions for each hole. That's how we're going to set it up right now, which would be a lot if we were doing it for every round at once, but the intent is that we're going to accumulate these stats. I'll find a way to save them to the defaults. It's probably something I'm going to want to add here. That the stats need to be added to defaults. Let's go create user defaults, or let's say shared preferences. User defaults is what it was called in Swift. Structure. Saving stats of rounds already calculated. Saving stats of rounds already calculated, and make sure they run on launch. Implement progressive saving of shared preferences stats to minimize computing time for the all stats view. Okay, those might end up moving up this list here, but we'll leave that there for now. All right, so adding functions to the new view file to take stat calculations for number of rounds selected above. Number of rounds selected above, and deliver the final stat to show. So that was going to be in this view. Calculate stats holder. It's this. So we're going to update here first. Single round calcs is equal to that. I went through, we pulled in all of the whole data, we're incrementing. So single round calcs, the intent is that this is, I guess, how do I want to display that? Do I want that to return a row? I don't think so. Return an array, I mean. It's got, I say that, it's got to return an array. Do I want it to just be an array of strings like this? Because it's only running for a single round. So I think I'm going to have to set it up kind of like the individual stats one is, where I just update all of the values. But I'm going to have some... Are these all just integers? Is that... They're not. That's an array. This is going to be tricky. Do I want to make it painful enough that I just return every single value? doesn't have to be a single one. We can, I forget how I do that. Is it, yeah, it can't be like that. Okay. So I could return all of them. And then we would just have to add to this anytime I want to add a new stat. Does that make sense? I feel like it makes more sense than, because I can't make it all a string. That's going to be annoying to then have to decipher some of these arrays. Can I make it Can we do that? That works. Okay, so make it dynamic. And then ideally I can just return every single one of these values. That's my hope. Is this not working again? Why isn't copy working? Is it my keyboard? No, it's not my keyboard. God. Copy on Mac not working in verse code. Extensions disabled. So which one of the extensions? Try that. I'm working on this again, but man, this is annoying. Like I just want it to be copied. Can I just delete all of these? Is that one the error? Now it's working. Okay, maybe it was that shortcut that was causing my issue there. Anyways, let's go try that again. Number of holes is something I will want to return. So it's going to return number of holes, total fairway hits, oh, I see. If I do that, yes, it seems like that's going to work. Okay. Total parked, total C1 regulation, total, I don't know why the suggester isn't chiming in, excuse me. Regulation, C1x putting, C1 putting, C2 putting, scrambles, OB strokes, holes with OB, aces, eagles, birdies, pars, bogeys, double bogeys or worse, bounce backs. Okay. This one's going to be just easier to read and keep track of if I create all these as a new line and then add some comments beyond them. Okay, total bounce backs. And then we have C1 make streak, current birdie streak, bogey free, C2 bonus. And then we already have total bounce backs in there. Okay. Should be easy enough. Add our comments here, just so when I eventually have to reference these in that next function, it's easy to see which number is which. Wonder, for keeping the code clean, if it makes sense to have all these as their own function, like calculating total bogeys for a single round and then calculating double bogeys for a single round, and it just seems unnecessary. I don't like returning a variable that's this big, but man, it does seem the easiest, and I'd rather return one variable this big than try to return 21 variables. You know, add 21 variables here instead of just a single array. Okay, so these values are going to get updated. We're going to return them here. Return single round calcs is turning a dynamic list, and then here don't want to add this. Let's call this stats compiler. Dynamic. Stats temp compiler is equal to a dynamic list. And then we'll go stats totals is equal to a dynamic list. Okay. So here we're going to set stats temp compiler equal to that variable. So that's now holding all of our stats for a single round. And then I'm going to have to do another for loop here. So for var stat equals 0. Yes, stats totals if stats temp compiler stat how do I want to do this? How do I want to do this? Because some of them are just going to return integers. Some of them are going to return an array. For the integer ones, I'm just going to add it to this. One of them will be holes played. That's probably a good one to add here. Holes played. Can I just do a length so. So if it's an array, else stats totals is equal to single round calculations. So then I want an if statement here. If round is equal to 0 stats totals. I don't like that that's plural, just stat totals. Stat totals. I will probably go for about another 45 minutes today. Just looking at the clock. All right. Stat totals if it's the first round is equal to stats temp compiler. That way I'm filling out an array with all the appropriate values. Else, and then we'll run this for loop so we can skip this for the first round because it's just going to be equal to whatever the stats are for that round. If first round of loop totals is just equal to single round. All rounds that aren't the first one. I don't think I need that comment actually. Let's take that out. If it is an array, then we need to iterate over it again for item equals 0, item for item equals 0, item is less than stats to compiler stat length. Stat totals, stat item, yes. If it's not equal to that, then it's just stat totals stat. Yeah. Okay, so that should be our for loop to create the totals. And this actually should be pretty easy. So this is going to be a final stat display names string and then here I just have to copy this. Instead of doing these all individually, we're going to throw these into a loop as well, and it'll be easy because, or throw them into an array because the stats are already going to be in an array. All right, so this one is holes played. We're going to add the space and the dash in just so they're already there. Hits. Parked, C1 in regulation, C2 in regulation, C1x putting, C1 putting, C2 putting, scrambles, OB penalty strokes. I don't know why it's going one by one. I'm just doing them all at the same time. Your worst rate, bounce back rate, longest birdie streak, bogey free. We're skipping one here. Longest C1 makes streak. Oh, now I guess we're done. C2 bonus. Now let's turn it off. Average putt length. Total putt length. Longest putt. Longest throw in. Average round rating. highest round rating. Combined tournament score. And aces. All right, so now that those are all there, we're going to delete these. Whoa, not that many. And then on here, instead of that, we'll throw oh, I had copied it. That's right. I was like, why are there two? I don't know. For var stat equals 0, stat is less than stat display names dot length plus plus, and then here we're going to go stats holder dot add perfect. That's not quite going to be there, but that's close. So I am going to need a individual stat calculations, single round calculations. Oh, those can probably go in here. So I need looking at like fairway hits. This is going to add total fairway hits here. It's not going to calculate stats. Single round calculations. Stat totals. Holes played. I might have to do these individually, actually, now that I think about it. Just because the display of each one of these stats is going to be unique. And then I would almost rather not even have the array. It's a bummer. And it'll all just be a single line. So just for the sake of having less lines of code, I am going to do that, which is silly, but I'm just trying to think of the cleanest way to produce this. So we're going to get rid of this array. Because holes played is just going to be a number. Fairway hits is going to be two numbers in parentheses with a percentage next to it. Total putt length will just be a number with the foot sign. Like it's going to be different. All right, so yeah, it's not going to be that, unfortunately. So it'll be something like stats holder add holes played stat total 0. Yep. Stats holder add. And this is like, this is an example of where it's going to get dicey. This is going to be fairway hits divided by stat total 0. And then we'll need to calculate percentage, which I do have that I do have that function. I don't need a parentheses here, but I do want it here. Calculate percentage, and then it's stat totals 1 and stat totals 0. So we're going to give number of fairways hit over number of holes, and then whatever that percentage comes out to. So this is why I didn't want to do it over a for loop, just because the display of each one of these stats is going to look a little bit different. A lot of them will be similar, but obvious differences that would make that hard. Parked. I can at least copy and paste these. Are these in the same order? Let's start there. Let's start there. Number of holes. Fairway hits, parked. C1 in regulation, C2. C1x, C1, C2, scrambles. OB penalty strokes, OB penalty rate. I think I need to leave both of these up to make sure that I am getting the right value here. Parked is going to be very similar. So parked is going to be stat totals 2 over 0, 2 over 0. C1 in regulation is going to be the same thing. C2 in regulation will also be the same thing. So that is C1 in regulation, C2 in reg. Probably should be a lowercase I. So C1 in regulation is going to be 3 and 4, 3 and 4. So again, the stats holder is going to be our array of the display for each of these stats. So we're going to, this function is going to get called with the list of the correct rounds. And then we're going to pass all the round information to that single round calculations. This is going to produce all the stats for that round. It's going to get passed back to this. I'm going to add those to the totals with this code. And then by the time this for loop is done, we'll have calculated stats for all of the rounds. And so then it's just putting them into the right display, which is this. And then I return this array, and then that's where our display comes in here. And we're making this all an array just so doing things like this can be done in a for loop. And then more importantly, doing things like, where's it at? Like this display here. Like this is all it is instead of 21 or however many different text blocks, text widgets. That's just one for loop. Hopefully easier. Typing these out so I can see what each one corresponds with. All right, so we did circle 2 in regulation. We're done with those. Next is C1x putting. So C1x putting is going to return, I probably need to leave this here. It's going to return our array. I'm getting that array in the stat totals. It is still going to be like this, similar. Yeah, similar formatting, but going to be different. C1x putting, that is 5. So this is going to be 5, 0, because this one's an array and not just a single value. It's makes versus attempts divided by 5, 1. And then that's the percentage we're going to calculate as well. It's 5, 0, and 5, 1. And then C1 putting and C2 putting are going to be the same thing. It's just that 5 is instead going to be a 6. C1 putting, C2 putting. So we'll do this one first. 6, 6, 6, and 6. 7, 7. Nope. 7 and 7. All arrays. Okay, it looks like next is scrambles, and that is going to be the same thing. Same format. We're presenting that one as successes versus attempts. I don't know if that needs to be plural. It's something that I can very easily change later. And the nice thing about doing this is that if I ever want to change the way scrambles is displayed, I don't have to adjust it anywhere other than right here, which is great. I will calculate stats holder. So now that I'm thinking about it, because I'm going to need a similar function when I do this for single rounds. But I can't use this one. Actually, I could. I could still use this one. That will be something to keep in mind. I could just only pass a single ID. The hard part would be that these would all have to have an extra array, so I probably won't do that. I might just do that on the round display. On this view, I'll create another function down here that's pretty similar to this one, but is intended just to create the displays for a single round and not all of them. So, all right, scrambles is done. Next is total OB strokes. So we got just a whole lot of integers coming up. OB penalty strokes is just going to be an adder. So that one we will just do this. OB penalty strokes. And then this is stat totals 9. That's why I did these comments, so it's easy to know which number it is. I know I'm kind of going in order here anyways, but make sure I don't miss one, mess something up. Keep it easy. OB penalty rate. So here we actually need, before I create this one, we're going to go to my general math calculations. Let's actually want to move this one here. I think that's where it should go. Okay. Instead of a calculate percentage, I want a calculate to 3 decimals. Numerator, denominator, it'll still be a division here. Double parse to string as fixed 1. With exactly fraction digits after the decimal point. Three, and get rid of that. I think that should work. So instead of making it a percentage, I'm not multiplying by 100, leaving it as the decimal, and then I think this will truncate it to a string with only, or a double the decimal with only three numbers after the decimal, which is what I'm going for. Because the OB rate is going to be 0 point something, right? You're not going to go beyond 100% of the holes, or maybe you will. But, so we have that. So OB penalty rate, that one is going to be more like this. So OB penalty rate, it's going to be total holes with OB divided by the total number of holes, and then this is going to be calculate to 3 decimals, stat totals 10. Okay, perfect. All right, and then on these eagle birdie rates, these are going to be like the fairway hits. So same thing, basically. Eagle, I have aces up here first. So aces, eagles, birdies, pars, bogeys, double bogeys are worse. Aces, eagle rate, birdie rate. Let's just call this ace rate. Birdie rate, par rate. I think I like frequency better. I think that, to me, initially makes a little more sense. I can always change this later. Bogey, frequency. And how was I doing this? Double, bogey, plus frequency. Okay. All right, so ace frequency is going to be, these are all going to be calculate percentage. So 11 divided by number of holes, and then we're going to calculate that percentage. So I should just be going down the list here. This will be 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, and then updating the percentage calculation as well, 13, 14, 15, 16. Okay, so those should all be good. Book your worst rate. Bounce back rate, I have not added. I do have the function for that, right? I do have the function, okay. I don't know why I was thinking I didn't. But bounce back rate is going to return an array, right? Yeah, total bounce backs. So that one will need to match. We'll copy this. Oh, it's so nice that I'm hoping that getting rid of that keyboard extension fixed it, and that my copy's not gonna, my copy keyboard shortcut isn't gonna keep going out. Bounce back rate. So that's going to be 17.0, 17.1. Calculate percentage, 17.0, 17.1. Okay, and that's the same thing. That's successes, attempts. Okay, so we got bounce backs done. Clearly I've got a lot of stats here that I was intending to display that I don't have the calcs for yet. So we'll take care of those. Current C1 make streak is equal to 0. C1x putting. Current C1 make streak is equal to C1 makes, and I think I have that here. Return C1 makes streak. So that'll have to be, will have to be some logic in here to see if it's actually the best one. So this might have to be a if C1 makes streak, current C1 makes streak, shot data whole greater than current C1 makes streak, then current C1 makes streak is equal to. Yeah. Just gonna add that logic in there so that even if it calculates a streak, it's not automatically changing the variable. Ooh, no, that doesn't work. That logic doesn't work. I need a different one here. We need a final C1 makes streak equals 0. We need a final birdie streak equals 0, and we need a final bogey free streak equals 0. Okay, so then is greater than final C1 makes streak. Final C1 makes streak. C1 makes streak. Does this make sense? I'm not sure. So this function is returning the current, the updated streak. If so this is wrong. We need to just do this. So current C1 make streak, we're returning the current streak. And then here this can just be current C1 make streak is equal to current C1 make streak. Okay. So determine the current streak. If it's greater than it, then final is equal to current. Okay. And then we need to do a couple of those. So current birdie streak. If current birdie streak is greater than final. Yep. And we'll go here. Like so. Okay. All right, and then these now, instead of current, this needs to return final C1 make streak, final birdie streak, and final bogey free streak. And then the issue is that when I'm doing that for the entire round, so I'm going to need another variable here for the streaks, which is silly, but that's okay. All right. So we had C1 make streak, final C1 make streak. Equals 0, final birdie streak equals 0, final bogey free streak is equal to 0. And then for each round, if round is equal to 0, stat total is equal to that, yep. Else, for each stat, plus is equal to. Is that how this is actually going to work? I'm gonna have to think about this one. For holes played, yes, we're just adding. For fairway hits, yes, we're just totaling fairway hits. Totaling parked, totaling these, totaling. Same thing with these. Okay, so those do all work. The streaks are going to be unique because I can't just add those. If item is equal to 18, if stats temp compiler 18, item is greater than final C1 make streak, final C1 make streak is equal to that. I am putting this in the wrong block though anyways. Because this is going to return a single value. Stat is equal to 18. Maybe I don't want to do this for each. I'm going to run through all of them. Man. Just the different structures for each of these stats makes. Because there's lots of very simple ways that I could fix this. I just am probably overthinking which way is going to be the best. And so I actually don't even need these values. So the way this can work is else if stat equals 19, else if stat equals 20. Stats, compiler, stat, no, is greater than stat totals, stat total stat is equal to this. And then these are going to be the same thing. C1 make streak, bogey free streak, 19 and 20. Yeah, just updating the streaks. This should really be cleaner actually. Or stat is equal to 19, or stat is equal to 20. We can get rid of these. Put these all in their own parentheses just so it's A little bit easier to distinguish. Okay, and this will be an else block that this will sit in. Okay, so doing that, that's probably the simplest. If I add more streak ones, I can just add them here, essentially. So current C1 makes streak, that's just going to be our longest. Birdie, bogey, free, C1 makes. Is that the order that I went in? That's not. C1 makes streak, birdie streak, bogey free streak. Okay, so, oh, that is what I have here. Okay, I copied them, they're right. Longest C1 makes streak. Longest birdie streak. Longest bogey free streak. I'll find probably shorter ways to say this. Still thinking here. I don't know what I'm thinking about, but I'm thinking. Okay. And then C2 bonus. Current C2 bonus is what's returned there. That will probably just be an integer. It's definitely how I'm. Current C2 bonus is equal to 0. That should just be an integer. Yeah. Don't overthink that. C2 bonus 21. What I'll ultimately end up doing is adding a little info icon next to all the stats to explain what they are. Info buttons next to each stat to explain what they are and how they're calculated. Okay. So we have that. I did add aces, so that's done. I think round rating I probably need to ignore for right now. I think that's going to require a lot of earlier setup that I'm probably not going to do at the moment. These I'm just going to add in. I guess I could have done the same with rating. Average putt length. And I'm just going to put a question mark because that's not something I'm calculating right now, but I would eventually like to. Total putt length. Longest throw and combined score. Holder add. Average tournament. Average round rating. That should also be round. Stats, holder, add, highest round rating. Okay, so we're adding it there. I don't need to print this. That should pretty much be it. And then we're going to display it up above. I don't have any errors, so let's go ahead and launch this. Go look at my task again. Add functions to new file to take stat calculations for number of rounds selected above, which we are going to do here. And then deliver the final stat to show, which that's what this function does. So the important thing here for us to pass is going to be the round IDs selected. Currently I'm just passing the full one there, which makes sense. These are the ones that are going to have to change. This actually should be pretty easy. So this is going to be round IDs 0, round 1. There's an easier way for me to do this here. I don't remember how this is conveyed. Good ChatGPT question here. Sublist. Okay. Round IDs. Sublist. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, like so. Cool, cool, cool. 0 to 19. And all of them. Done. So that's all pretty accurate there. Let's give it a quick little refresh. Make sure that when I actually go to that view that it is displaying. Make sure we don't have any bugs popping up. Doesn't look like it. All right, all rounds. No, not all rounds, sorry, stats. All right, we got an error. What is, that's not helpful. I need the error. There we go, thank you. All right, this was the stack. Only valid value is 0, 1, single round calculations. Okay, 38. If fairway hit. Okay, so when we call single round calculations, calculate stats holder. Here I need to pass shot data sets and round pars. Print round pars, print shot data sets. All right, let's get an output from this. Stats, round pars, 3, 4. Yeah, the shot data sets is the issue. So if I go to our all rounds file, because I think we're still deleting that file every time. Yep. So what I need to do here is make sure this has all the holes. So we got 18 here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. And then we're going to copy and paste this. So the issue is I only had one hole of shot data here, and obviously these are made up fake, but I'm also not actually calculating the stats. So I need to pass the right number of variables, but I don't actually need them to say anything. All right, so here we're going to have to reload. I think that should take care of that issue. And as long as this is functioning, I'm probably going to check that task off, and then we will hop off for today. I think we actually kind of finished this other one too. Create temp variables in new view, which is the stats view, to hold stat calculations for each stat and number of rounds selected to ultimately pass to new functions. I think I already did that. I think that's essentially what these variables are. Individual stat, single round calculations. This one I should probably have a all round calculations dart. And then let's go to single round. Let me copy the imports. Let's go to all stats. Let's grab our function here. We'll delete it. Add this. Single round calculations. Import package C1x stat keeping single round calculations.dart. Perfect. And then here we just need to add single round, just so it's in its own file. This one's just the view. I'm gonna eventually end up deleting a lot of these files, cleaning up names so that it doesn't look terrible. Let's restart that again. Get the right file in there. All right, stats. Still getting an error. Different error though. All round calculations, 21. When this exception was thrown. Int has no, so I can't do length if it's an integer. Okay, ChatGPT. I tried the below code for determining whether an object in a dynamic was an integer or a array of integers. This does not work and gives an error. How can I determine whether the object is a single number or an array of numbers? Does not have a length. Oh, I can literally just ask it. Okay. So if is list int. Can I just do that? Could just be any list. Yeah, I don't want to specify, so we can just call it a list. Cool. Okay, let's reset again. See if we took care of that error. Seemed like we might have. Yeah. Getting issues here because we can't divide by 0, which is fine. 0 point. I do want to actually show the percentages though. So like actually doing a percent symbol here. Park percentage, C1 in reg, C2 in reg, C1x putting percentages, scramble percentage, yes. Penalty rate is a decimal. Did that give me the right number of decimals? It only gave me 1, so I'll need to probably throw that into ChatGPT too. Percentage all these. Percentage. C2 bonus. All right, let's go grab this. I want this function to return a decimal with 3 places, like 0.254. It says it already does. I'll make it cleaner, sure. I want to make sure they're double, actually. I don't think I like that. It says it already does it, so I guess maybe just because it's 0, it's only throwing 1. But if I come in here and we save that, now they all get a percentage. Okay. I have 4 rounds there with 18 holes, so the calculating hole totals is adding correctly. Did I actually add that in here? Was I? Oh yeah, I just calculated up above number of holes. Yeah. Okay. So I think that's largely working. And I think I'm done with both of these. Add functions to take stat calculations for the number of rounds selected above, deliver the final stat to show. Yep. And then I created the variables to hold the stat calculations, so that's done. Complete functionality for stats display. And tie into all rounds view. I don't think I need to tie in anything here. I think I meant all stats view. Complete functionality for stats display. And tie into all rounds view. The all rounds view goes to individual rounds. So those are going to create errors, but that's okay. Because I don't have a last 20 rounds. That's an easy bug to go fix. I'm going to add that one down here. Fix bug caused when selecting 20 rounds. And let's go move this to the top. Right there. Right here, actually. Complete functionality for stats display. And tie into the all rounds view. This is my issue when I write these so far before. All rounds view. Does not need to tie into it. Okay. I don't think this one matters. All right, so we're going to call it there. We'll have this little bug fix, which will be quick. I already know how to do it. I just don't have the time to do it right now. Segmented picker, and then we're starting the stat keepings in the app, which is stat keepings. Entering shots. We're starting to actually start rounds in the app, which would be pretty cool. So I'm going to call it there. Thanks to anybody who finds this after the fact. I'm probably going to go at least once more this weekend, if not both tomorrow and Sunday. We'll see. But